Okay, it says we're streaming live. So I'm going to assume then that everybody can see us. I'm Kelly Coates Gilbert, and I'm broadcasting live from Dallas, Texas tonight. And I have a guest that I am just so tickled to bring to you for a lot of reasons. But before we start, she just warned me that they're having a little bit of a lightning storm. So if for any reason this thing goes off, we'll be back on, or we'll reschedule if that's necessary. But we'll just keep going and hope and pray that for the best. But let me introduce Tina tonight. This is Tina Sloan. Tina has appeared on Law and Order, SVU, Third Watch, and in numerous films, including Woody Allen's Celebrity and The Curse of the Jade Scorpion, The Brave One with Jodie Foster, Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck, The Guru with Marissa Tomei, People I Know with Al Pacino, and Black Swan with Natalie Portman. Her latest projects include being part of an all-star cast on the soap web series Beacon Hill and Venice, and she continues to be a sought-after speaker. And I snagged her for us tonight, by the way. Tina Sloan is best known for her 26-year role on CBS's soap opera, The Guiding Light, which happens to be my very favorite, and as the author of Changing Shoes, which was based on her autobiography. I didn't even pronounce it right. Her autobiographical one-woman show. The Changing Shoes book release coincided with the launch of the show in New York and went on to great stages across the US. Beyond her professional accomplishments, and I did not know this, Tina has achieved significant milestones in her personal life, which include climbing 20,000-foot peaks in Africa and Nepal and finishing 8 marathons. Oh my gosh, girl. I am so tickled to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm so happy. You have no idea how happy I am to be here. Thank you.
I met Tina years back at a Pulpwood Queens event, which is a book event. And I had just come out with, well, actually I just signed my contract, I think. And I saw Tina and I thought, who is that? She looks really familiar. And then when I realized who she was, I got so Twitter-pated like Bambi, but I was so excited because I used to watch Guiding Light and I loved Lillian Raines. So I went up to you and I was a little bit nervous and I introduced myself and you were so gracious. And then Tina ended up endorsing my debut novel. So it is a double delight to have you here with us tonight because we're going to talk about your book, Chasing Cleopatra.
Okay, that's wonderful.
First of all, let me just ask you a little bit. I know that anyone who's watching tonight, and for those who are watching, we won't see your comments until afterwards. But after this is over, anybody who's commenting below, Tina and I will go on there and we'll answer all your questions. So go ahead and comment if you've got a question for Tina. But I wanted to just ask Tina a little bit about her Guiding Light and her celebrity and all of that. How in the world did you get involved in all that? When did you decide you wanted to be an actress?
I decided very young, and my parents were very much against it. They wanted me to, to have a house and a husband and children and a lab, all of which I wanted too, but they wanted me to go right to that. Instead, I went and tried acting. And I didn't know anybody in the business because my father was a lawyer and my mother was a housewife. And, we just had a normal, very normal life. So I just kept after it. And I finally got someone who sent me out for a commercial. I got the first commercial, Ford Model Agency sent me, and I got my first commercial. And I had to be in a shower washing my hair. Now think about that. They give you a bodysuit, but there's a shower. And, I was young and I'm washing my hair and I'm thinking everyone can look at my bodysuit, which is supposed to not be see-through, but I kept looking down at it. It was Head and Shoulders. I remember it so well. I was so scared that I was very modest. I didn't want people looking at me. And then I thought maybe this is why my parents didn't want me to do this. And then,
how did you ever land on Guiding Light?
Well, I did so many commercials that I remember going on to my agent for commercials, and I said, if you don't get me a soap audition, I think I'm going to leave you. So he got me a soap audition, and the first one was Somerset. I did that. Then I did As the World Turns. Then I did Search for Tomorrow, And then I did Guiding Light. And I came on Guiding Light for 6 months and I stayed 26 years. I mean, that was really, which
Yeah.
teaches people you never know. You have to go do things which, you think, oh, this isn't worth it. It is worth it. Because, I mean, if I'd said, oh, it's only 6 months, I won't do it, I wouldn't have been there for 26 years. I had the last line of the last show. I mean, the way we filmed it, not
Yeah.
the way you saw it.
I love women who are brave enough to try and who are determined enough to not take no for an answer, who just keep knocking on the door. And
Yeah.
anyone who writes a novel, that's certainly the situation. I mean, I don't know, there might be some, but I don't know any who just wrote a novel, sold it, and was fine. I mean, it takes some determination. And I transitioned from a legal career, and I remember lots of people said, "You're doing what?" And I just kept after it because I wanted it so bad. I wanted it so badly.
Well, I think people who love to read, I really believe all people who read, and I read morning, noon, and night, really and truly are writers at heart. I mean, things come into my mind when I'm reading a book, like when I was reading yours and I gave you a plot. I'm thinking, oh, this would be so interesting. This is so good. And as I walk down the street, I get ideas. I look at someone who looks very plain, and then they have on bright orange socks. And I go, oh, you never know what's going to show up. So I think being a writer makes you very observant. And I love that.
That's right.
Also,
I tell the story often, but I'm the one who sits in the restaurant with her husband, and everybody's talking, but I'm over here watching this couple and they're not talking. And she's like, and I'm going, ooh, what happened? And I'm writing in my head what happened.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we do. I mean, you can't help it. But also, Kelly, I find that I see things that other people don't see that maybe I shouldn't see. You walk into a room and you see somebody, look at somebody, and you go, uh-oh. And nobody else knows what's happening, but I get it. Now, maybe that's my soap opera. I mean, where people come back from the dead and people are always, betraying each other.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where that comes from. But it is kind of interesting that we have this need to figure out what everybody is doing. And I love it. I walk in the morning for 2 hours every day. And since COVID started, I started walking maybe 1,000 steps. Now I have this little Fitbit and I walk 10, today I did 14,000 steps, which is a lot,
Yeah.
But
because writing, you sit a lot. Yeah.
Yes, you do. And this keeps you very sane.
Yeah.
And I was a runner. So, I mean, and I can't run because I ran too much and I climbed too many mountains. So I now walk and I love it. But as I walk and people are talking about their husbands or their kids or their sister-in-laws, I'm thinking, oh, that's so interesting. It's, when it's a little bit different than the normal, I'm angry at my sister-in-law because blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's an interesting little squiggle on it. And you take that all down. I love it. And it makes you so interested in people. So they love to come and talk to you. And you have good advice, don't you?
Yeah. I was a legal investigator. And a lot of people said, well, why didn't you become an attorney? And I thought that sounded so boring to me. Sitting there writing briefs and arguing the law. I loved being a trial paralegal and an investigator because I got to be with the people and I got to learn the stories and the drama. And when I'd go out, they would tell me things. I would just sit across the table and I'd say, well, how did that feel? Well, what did you say then? And pretty soon they're just spilling,
Yes.
Yep.
But there's something in you. There's an empathy that makes people talk to you too. I mean, I would never, no matter what someone told me, I've often thought if someone came in and said, I want you to know I murdered someone, I would keep a straight face and I'd go, oh, you did? Well, now why did you do that? Because I always ask, why did someone do that? Why did she leave? Why did he hit somebody? Why did why was there a car crash? I'm not interested in the crash. I'm interested in why it happened.
Yeah. And I'm sure that your time in Hollywood, or I call it Hollywood, but it was probably New York. Your time, in film and television, that's story. And story is either in the visual story or the written story, but story is powerful. And creating characters. And I could tell when I read Chasing Cleopatra, I thought, This girl, she's immersed in story. She understands story. She understands what scares me, what makes me worry, what makes me feel good inside. You understand story.
That's an interesting way to put it. Thank you. But I
Yeah.
hope I do. I better. No, I think that's right. When I read it, I mean, I've reread it a few times lately because we're inside and I'm on a little island and the library isn't always open. And I don't know, I go to my Kindle a lot, but sometimes I like books. So I pick
Yeah.
up my own book.
Yeah.
And I think, I really got that person, or I really,
Yeah.
that betrayal, nobody sees that coming. And I love surprises. I love when people don't see who the terrorist is in this book. They don't see the betrayals coming, and that everybody in the end is pretty happy. I like that too.
So let me tell you the story that we're talking about. I hope it comes out not backwards. I never can tell, but
Forward. It's okay.
Is it forward? Okay. It's Chasing Cleopatra. It is a spy thriller with an international flair and a really heavy romantic plot line. But it has amazing depth, and characters are so drawn. When I picked it up this weekend, I read it, and then I went and got the audiobook. And then I listened to it. And that was even more fun because I don't pronounce a lot of French words very well, but the international flair was just so fun. And I felt like I went somewhere this weekend. And you had me at the red dress. Red is my favorite color. And oh my gosh, I just love that red dress on this book.
Do you know what I did? I went and bought a long red dress and I had a party, a Valentine's party. Because that's when the book came out, and see the red dress for the Valentine's party. And everybody came as different characters. And I came as Sandrine, and my husband was James Bond. And people came to this in the most wonderful outfits. It was so much fun. And then that was the end of our having parties.
So, yeah, but there is this glamour in this book. For any of you guys who read Sidney Sheldon, I had, just before my book came out, I actually wrote to Sidney Sheldon. I think it was just before my book or just before my contract, one or the other. But I wrote to Sidney Sheldon. I got on his website and used that little contact form. I got in the mail a letter because I had given my address and such. I don't even know why, but I did. But I got a letter, and it was from Sidney Sheldon. And
wow.
It could have been his press secretary. I know that. But you know what? I want to believe it was Sidney Sheldon. And then he passed away not so long after that,
No.
But oh my gosh, I loved his books. And it reminded me so of Sidney Sheldon.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Except
did.
that what I like is that there's a female heroine.
Yeah.
And she's 44. I mean, there's a 24-year-old girl too, who's a bit of a heroine, but that Cleopatra is 44 years old. And then there's a 77-year-old woman in it, Sandrine. And then there's a 55-year-old woman, I guess, Miranda, and whom you said you like.
I'm going to, her opening prologue is very short, but it will tell you everything about what this book is going to, all the feels. It'll tell you about all the feels that you're going to enjoy. So let me just read the prologue. It's written in the point of view of a character named Mohammed Abdul Rahman. And it's like this. It has been years, but we are so close now to the end. When I first saw Cleo, I was on a mission, but her face got in the way. I tried to ignore her beauty, but it was more than that. She was more than that. I knew that when I saw her, that I was compromised. I was undone. Yet the moment of my undoing was the same as her own. I knew immediately that I wanted to do the one thing that I was not supposed to do, to see the one thing that I wasn't supposed to see. I wanted to see what her face looked like when I told her the truth about her father, about herself, and about me. And now, after all these years and all these secrets and all these lies, we will come to the end. And I will see the truth finally written upon her beautiful face. And then I will bash that face in and sever her hold on me for good. It has been years, but we are so close now. Almost time to say goodbye, dear Cleo.
But
loved it.
But I love then when Cleo comes in and goes, "It was all because of a man, but then it always is." I think
Yes.
that's my favorite line that I've ever, and I got that line from Kurt Vonnegut.
Oh,
Do you want me to tell
really?
you the story? I was at a dinner party and he was there and my son was there. My son had just gone in the Marines, so he had his hair all cut off. And Kurt Vonnegut said, "Now, why are you going in the Marines?" And my son looked at him and said, "It was all because of a girl." And Vonnegut said, "But then it always is." And I went, "I'm going to use that line someday." And that was 20 years ago and I'm using it finally.
Oh, well, it's glorious. Oh, by the way, it has an international flair, but the actual book takes place over a holiday in Hawaii. So you're going to feel like you're in Hawaii for a few days. This family is there during the holiday and there's lots of tensions and sibling rivalries. And oh, I read it in a day. I mean, I started it that morning with a cup of coffee and I closed it and watched the news with my husband. It was so good.
People tell me they cannot it's a page turner.
It definitely is. A page turner.
Yeah. I like
I've always wanted to write some thrillers. I think I may do that someday under maybe another pen name, but I love thrillers and this was a really good one.
But
so all of you out there, you are going to have to go run. Tell me where it is. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, anywhere. Amazon.
All retailers.
Kindle. Yeah. I mean, yeah, everywhere. I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have to ask for it. But
and get this book. And for those of you who love audio, the audio was delicious. It was just really good. And the cool thing is when you get the audio, you can, a lot of times they're whisper synced and you can read the book on your Kindle and then wherever you stop, you can pick it up on your Audible and it starts playing there.
And did you see
that?
Did you see
it kept doing that for me. I don't know how, but it was. So that was really cool. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your writing process.
Okay, but did you see that it won an award, the Audible Reader's Choice Award?
Yes, recently. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I got this email from them and saying you won the Audible Reader's Choice Award or something, because she said it's 5 stars isn't enough. That's when we give this award. Well, I was almost in tears. I was so happy because I put 5 years into writing this book. I mean, I'd stop and then I'd pick it up again. But, to get rewarded for spending all that time is quite wonderful. And we all need rewards right now.
Well, and our books, authors will tell you, our books are like our children. I mean, not our children, but they feel, I mean, it's a part of you that you have taken and put on a page. And you're out there. I've often said when you release a book, it's a little bit like walking naked down the street, because everybody's going to comment about whether they liked it or didn't like it or this or that. And you hold your breath and hope. And then when the reviews come in and people like it, you go, they like it. Yeah. So it's that's where you're going, but yeah, there's no doubt if you guys get this book, you're going to like it. I want to talk to you a little bit about how these characters, because I fell in love with Cleopatra, help me say the last name.
Gallier.
And Jake Regan, right. And Julia. I don't want to give too much away about the story, but these characters, they became so very real to me so quickly. I was just invested immediately. And I love that you did all the different points of view, but what I really loved, I see very few books in first person present. I love books in first person present. Before I knew that you weren't kind of supposed to do that because it was too hard, I did Mother of Pearl in first person present.
I know you did, yeah.
It just gives this immediacy, and when you're reading, you become that character. And you did such a glorious job. So tell me about your process of creating characters. How do you go about it? How do you decide what they look like and who they're going to be?
Let me just do this with this character, Jake, who's this rogue. He's 20. I can give you this. She's a 44-year-old woman, Cleopatra, and she smashes her car by mistake, obviously, into his Jeep. He's there on vacation with his family. She lives in Hawaii, where she's on a TV show. Of course, I knew a lot about that, so that helped. But he was a real rogue. I mean, he's very handsome, but he was very naughty and very bad. So in the next, I'm writing a sequel right now. And I thought, well, I think I'm going to kill Jake. So I think this is the process. So I take Jake to San Moritz to ski. I thought I'd have a different setting than Hawaii. So I put him in San Moritz, and I have him going up in the gondola, and there's another man with him. And there begins to be an awful lot of snow, and he's really excited because he loves to ski and he's thrilled. And as he goes up, it gets deeper and deeper, the snow, and he's in a total whiteout. So I thought, oh, perfect. He's going to get, this sort of happens. I'm not thinking. And I get him out of the gondola, and he looks at the man who's been in the gondola with him, who has said that he could ski this mountain blind because he's skied it all his life. So Jake says to him, could I follow you? Because you know how to ski the mountain blind, and we're blind up here. And he looks at him and shrugs, and he takes off. And so Jake gets in his ski tracks. And the man is whistling. And all of a sudden he stops whistling. And I'm thinking, oh, good, I probably have him on a cliff right now. The man is leaving him there, and he's on a cliff. I can kill him. And then somehow, out of nowhere, a poem from Pablo Neruda, who was a great poet, comes into Jake's mouth, and he speaks about the cold and the snow and the people following you, which is what had happened to Neruda in Spain when he was trying to escape during the Second World War. And I'm thinking, Jake's speaking poetry. I can't kill him. I mean, he's a poet. So I kept him alive. I mean, I thought, well, I guess he can get down this mountain then. And I don't know how he's going to, I did know how to get him down, but it sort of happens. These characters now I know so well. And I just knew when he spoke poetry, and I don't know how he spoke it. He just did. I mean, it was a beautiful poem.
So you're a pantser, it sounds like. A plotter is someone who plots everything out prior.
I don't plot anything.
And then a pantser just literally writes by the seat of our pants.
Like a terrorist in this book, I sort of had plotted. It was a totally different person. And then as I started writing the book, nobody ever has guessed yet. Did you guess who the terrorist was?
No.
Nobody has guessed.
No, I did not. I thought it was.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And nobody know. And people, I've gotten calls at 2:30 in the morning saying, Tina, I can't believe he was the terrorist, and I just smile. I don't even mind being woken up. These are, friends saying.
Yeah.
It just happens. It just happens.
What's cool is you really didn't reveal until almost the very end.
I'd say 3/4 of the way.
I don't know. It was almost like a James Bond kind of movie. It's that whole feel, and I love those kind of stories.
Well, so, I loved her clothes and her glamour. And then the young girl, Julia, who's 24, was lovely and in a very different, simpler way. And I love that. And Miranda, the mother, my son said, Mom, you're Miranda. The mother, who's 55, she, is a little heavy, and, she's always sort of in a bathrobe when she puts the robe on when she's in her bathing suit so nobody can see her, which I do. And I sort of liked that. I mean, I sort of had fun with her. All the women, I loved the women in this book. I love the men too, but I just thought the women were terrific.
Yeah. Well, and Miranda was like a mother hen. She just kind of, even when she sees some things happening, and I don't want to give away anything, but when she sees some things happening that are very worrisome, she has some choices she can make, but she chooses to do the mother hen thing,
Yes. And to be quiet until she wins. She just is going to make it work without saying anything, which I thought was very clever of her.
I have some friends and some women that I know that are like that. They are not vocal, but they are very much active in what's going on. And they have such influence, and they don't tell people what to do, but they get people to do what they want through their wily ways. And Miranda reminded me of that. She definitely had control of the situation.
Yes, she sort of did.
Not initially, but.
Yeah. No, and she appeals to a lot of people because she's she's so real. She used to wake me up. She was nothing for a while. Here's my process again. She'd wake me up in the middle of the night and say, I promise you, this is what she'd say. Somehow she had red hair. She said, I was a cheerleader. And I'm going, you were a cheerleader? I mean, I wake up and then I had to go out and study cheerleading to see what she would have done and why she would have done it. And it was the most, so I learned a lot doing this book.
That must be why they feel so layered, because you don't really reveal that on the page, but you know it as an author. And so when you're writing her and her motivations and the way she reacts to things, she's so real.
She's so real, isn't she?
Yeah. And that's kind of a great author who can really, you close the last page of a book, but those people walk off with you.
I've had people say they close it and they don't want to leave them, so they go back and read it again. Those are good friends.
Yeah, and that's a sign of a good book. I was going to ask, but I think you already said, which of your characters is most like you? And you said Miranda.
Oh no, I think Sandrine is most like me. My son thinks Miranda is. I think it's Sandrine. And my husband thought it was Sandrine.
Mm-hmm. I love the name. You had such luscious names in this. How do you come up with these names? Are they people you knew, or?
I was taking French lessons because we were going to go to Paris. This was years ago. And I'd studied in school, but I don't speak it well. So I had this woman come over, 2 days a week, and we discussed news and all kinds of things, and her name was Sandrine. So I said to myself, I'm going to use her name in the book because I was writing it then. And let me add, my husband and I get to Paris, and I've learned it. I've really worked hard. We get into the taxi. He starts babbling French. He has a great ear. He starts speaking French to the cab driver. I couldn't say one word. I never said one word the whole time we were in Paris. He did everything. And if he had trouble with a vocabulary word, I'd tell him what it was. But I just didn't have the ability to speak it.
It is a kind of a different. What do you do to get your creative juices flowing?
I don't know. I think I just sit down, and if I don't open the computer and look at the things on there, and if I go right to my book that I'm writing, it just happens, Do you do something?
Water does it for me. If I get in the bathtub,
I'm drinking water.
Well, getting in water, and then in the pool, if I get stuck and then I go out to the pool and
really,
yeah. The plot just starts flowing. Something about being in the water starts getting stuff going in my head.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder, that would be interesting to think about with a lot of readers, wouldn't it?
You walk and you start thinking about your plot. So,
Yeah. I think maybe if I put perfume on, that helps too.
Maybe.
Or my big, pretty earrings or something.
Yes, we were going to talk about these earrings.
Aren't they fun?
Yes, tell them about your earring fetish.
I have an earring collection.
I want earrings, in honor of you tonight.
Thank you. I have every color earring you could want to see. I brought some here. There's a place called Bella 2, BELLA-TU, Beautiful You. And I think they're $25. I don't know, but to me, they're worth it because they make me feel so good about myself, I mean, here they are in navy. So I can wear those when I'm,
I like those.
Aren't they? Well, they're more lawyer. Aren't they? Do you want me to keep showing
wild than I am, I guess, huh? Oh, those are pretty.
Yeah. Here are orange ones.
Ooh, the orange ones are great.
Short. These are short. Yeah. You can't, as I said, I'm on this little island. On this little island, you don't wear these earrings, believe me. I mean, everybody has on no makeup and no hair. No, their hair, we all do. I mean, I do too. Here are white ones. I do wear these on the island.
Oh, those are pretty.
But I love earrings. And I just think.
And shoes. Tell them about your book, Changing Shoes, because that's the first one I ever read. And that's why you were at Pulpwood Queens, was to talk about changing shoes. Tell everybody about that one.
Okay, it's the idea about that book this is when the soap was going off the air. And on the show, I had come on as the star, and then the mother of the star, and then the grandmother of the star, and I was about to be a great grandmother. So the idea was you change your shoes from sexy high heels, which I wore when I came on, even with my nurse's uniform. We'd wear those heels and those little hats and those short white skirts and those pretty blouses, unbuttoned a little bit. And then as it went on, I was soon in the scrubs with the sneakers on my feet. So the idea was going from sexy high heels to black flats. And I wrote this book because my mother and father were getting older. My son had gone in the Marines. So I was having
Changes.
really sort of rough time at that point. And so I started eating too. I started eating a lot of chocolate chip cookies, and I gained about 30 pounds. So there I was in my big size purple scrubs, feeling like a big purple whale or something. And so I thought I should write about this, because women at a certain age, 40, 50, 60, become invisible, right? We do become invisible. So, and also I realized there weren't any books about how to take care of your parents when I wrote this 10 years ago. And I had my mother and father were both in their 90s. And I remember having them both in wheelchairs, and I was taking them down a hill. And I thought I could let go of this. I mean, I was terrified I was going to slip, and they were both going to go whipping down the hill. And and it just made me think, I've got to learn something more about how to take care of them. And I started looking into power of attorneys and living wills and all the things we need to know as we get older. So I did a whole chapter for us. I said, it's better if you do this at 40 or 50 when you're not afraid of dying, or 60, not at 90. But my mother, who had senility dementia, oh, my poor mother, she looked at me one day when she was getting senility dementia, and she said, oh, Tina, I sang the Star Spangled Banner last night at the Yankee game. And then she started singing. She went, oh, say, can you see my batons? And she said, Tina, there's something wrong with me. There's something terribly, terribly wrong with me. And because of that, I thought I needed to put this out there for everybody who's going to go through this with their parents. And my father had cancer, and he got very angry at me. And I took care of them all the time, because my sister had died young, and my brother was my brother. And so he wasn't particularly doing anything. And I went to a shrink, and he said, people get mad at the person who's taking care of them, who they love, because they're going to live, and the person who's sick is not. Well, that explained it all to me. And I wanted everybody to know this. So I put this in the book. And then I took all the tips from being on Guiding Light, like when you have to wear makeup, mascara. And if you put a little baby powder in your mascara, it makes your lashes longer. And you should get an eyelash curler too, because that makes your eyes open up more. So, it was full of tips like that. And people tell me it's like a Bible for them. They need that, they need to have those tips.
A roadmap for
getting, yeah.
Our changes as we go from one stage to another.
And sometimes we need help from people who are ahead of you. Yeah. I look at friends who are ahead of me 10 years ahead, and I ask them, what's it like? And a lot of them hurt a lot right now. They've gotten, older, and their joints ache, and they say, but they don't talk. They say, but the key is not to talk about it, to just get up in the morning and say, if I got up yesterday, I can get up today. If I played golf yesterday, I can play golf today. If I wrote yesterday, I can write today. So there are some wonderful mantras in there too.
And then you actually created a play from that, and went around the United States putting that on.
Yeah, I did. I started in New York. I went to Atlanta, not Dallas. I was in Houston, Pittsburgh, all over Florida, because I live in Florida. And it was really widely accepted. I remember I'd stand behind and I'd think, why am I doing this? And I'd think to myself, if I can get one person to change their shoes to become better people, it's worth it. And people would change their shoes. They'd write and say, I went home and I had my hair cut and I got new clothes, and I changed. I started exercising. And that's what it's all about, I think. We help each other as women as we get older. And we need to help, make the path have some rose petals on it for people who are coming along, to know you're going to be invisible, and that it doesn't matter. You can still have fun.
Well, I'm going to ask all of our members who are watching tonight. We're not going to talk about shoes, but these earrings, I know all of you girls have some set of earrings in your jewelry box. And so I'm going to ask you to go get them, put them on tonight, and take a selfie.
Oh, wonderful.
And post it. I want to see B. Followell, what is that? Andy Tubbs, all you girls, I want to see your earrings. And get the wildest pair you can get. Now, maybe Maybe you don't have any wild earrings. That's okay. Get the wildest pair you have. But I want pictures of your earrings.
Oh, that's so fun.
And Tina and I are going to go watch. It's almost time. I could sit here and talk to Tina all night. I was in a movie once. I was in Bronco Billy with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, heaven.
Idaho, and I was in the bank scene in the scene where the little boy drops the piggy bank and all the pennies go all over. I was a customer standing in the line. and but Clint Eastwood put his hand on my hip and said, "Move here." And I went, ah! I never did. I never cashed my paycheck. I still have it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, I am such a celebrity groupie, not only authors, but my sister and I, she's going to kill me for telling this story, but we used to go in and get my mother's nightgowns on, you know, when
Sure.
wore those beautiful nightgowns and those flowy, well, my mom had beautiful nightgowns. We'd go get her nightgowns and her stilettos, and we would walk through the living room with, you know, with all this and put her lipstick on. And then we would play Academy Awards. And
I love it.
We'd accept a Pearl shampoo bottle and we would thank everybody who had supported us. So we've always been a little bit gaga for celebrities. And so this was kind of a treat for me. And my mother, who has passed away, she's been gone for a long, long time, but I used to go bale hay and work on the ranch, but at 1 o'clock, I got to come in and have lunch, and my mom and I would sit and watch Guiding Light, and we absolutely adored Beth and the Bauer family and Lillian Raines, and then later in later years when you had that stinking affair with Ed.
One night.
Everybody went from loving you to hating you. Oh my God.
There are some people who say I love Tina Sloan, but I still hate Lillian.
I still loved you, Lillian. I mean, you
you
got through cancer.
I had breast cancer, and I thought I was getting it again. I mean, she had nobody, and he started it. He kissed me.
Yeah, but all those, you know, I often think about the soap opera writers and the writers of some of our favorite programs. Right now, we love to binge watch on Netflix and such. And those writers, they're just extraordinary. And the writers of soap operas, they had to be fresh. They had to think of, I mean, and for those of you who did not watch Guiding Light, Lillian Raines is the character that Tina played. She was best friends with Maureen, and it was Maureen's husband that she.
Oh, I know. She's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. I mean, and believe me, I hate it. I had to write the letter that she would find to know that I had done this.
The letter.
I put the letter in the kitchen, and as I'm writing the letter, I couldn't write it. And I was one of these good people. I never caused a scene or anything. And I thought, I can't write this letter. It's like the bullet they put in for Ken Burns when he killed Lincoln. He couldn't put the bullet in. I couldn't write the letter. So finally, Maureen comes over, and her name is Ellen Parker, said, "Tina, you didn't do this. The writers did it. Would you write the letter?" You know, we all want to go home, because I would keep getting up and walk around the table, the desk. And then I'd say, I just can't do it. And I'd start to cry. And because I didn't want to kill her. I mean, she was my friend. I wanted her to stay there with me.
Well, and I can't even imagine what filming the last episode was like.
It was the saddest moment of our life.
And sobbed.
Yeah, and we did too. You can see, I say, weren't we lucky to have each other? But I'm saying it about another thing, not the end of the show, but it was because it was the last line of the show. And I couldn't say it 18 times, and I finally said it because it just was too hard to get out.
Well, you entertained me for years, and I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You gave me a wonderful weekend of reading, and I appreciate that. And
I love that you loved it.
I have a feeling that now that we've connected, we're going to kind of stay.
I hope so.
Yeah, because this writing is kind of a family isolated thing, and we need to stay in touch. But we are about ready to wrap up. I want to tell you all that, as usual, we're going to do a giveaway tonight. I'm going to give away 3 ebook copies, Kindle ebook copies of Chasing Cleopatra.
And can we give away a Changing Shoes too? I'll give away a Changing Shoes book.
And then Tina will give away is it an ebook or a?
Well, there is an ebook. Yeah, there is an ebook.
Okay. All right.
It's not
So
very good. It's me doing it.
I'm going to give away 3 copies of Chasing Cleopatra, and Tina's going to give away a copy of her Changing Shoes, all in Kindle ebook. And
I'll give you 2. If you give 3, I have to give 3.
oh, okay. So there you go. 6 of you are going to get lucky tonight. And the way that you guys enter is just like normal. Anyone who has commented below here in any way, shape, or form, ask your questions. Ask your questions of
Get your earrings.
or ask your questions of Tina Sloan, the author, and then put those below. And what I do is my assistant helps me, and we pull all those names and put them in what's called Rafflecopter, and it just randomly chooses someone. And even though, you may comment 12 times, you're only in there once. So it's very fair. And we'll pull those winners and we'll announce them tomorrow morning. And then when I announce them, you'll have to, get with me and get your email addresses to me and to Tina, and then we'll get you your prizes. So that'll be lots of fun. But before we go, I do want to mention something. I have a new release coming out next Tuesday. It's the 3rd book in my Pacific Bay series, for those of you who are reading along. And this one's really fun. I don't even have a physical copy yet, but it's called Chasing Wind.
Oh, Chasing.
Yep, Chasing Wind. And you're chasing Cleopatra. So we've got 2 of those. But it's the story of 3 generations of women who believe that they have nothing in common, and they'll try to become what they never were, a family. So lots of family tensions, and it's got a lovely romance line. It has a lovely hopeful ending in a small town called Pacific Bay, which is fashioned after Newport, Oregon. So I hope I'll go pre-order it. And the physical books, somebody wrote to me this week and said that they weren't able to pre-order the paperback on Barnes & Noble. And I didn't know that. But it will be out on Tuesday, so you'll be able to get it then. And of course, I'll be shouting from the rafters on Tuesday and letting you all know that it's out. So, thanks for joining us tonight. And Tina, thank you. This was so fun.
Such a good time.
Girl.
Kelly, do you and I stay on and talk about these things?
I'll end the meeting and we'll be done. And then, and this has been broadcasting live directly to Facebook. And then when we're finished, we'll go on to She's Reading on the video. And then we'll go down on all those comments and we'll just answer everybody's questions, and we'll answer everybody's, and okay. So we'll be over there,
I need you to tell me what to do.
No problem. No problem. All right. Well, this has been fun. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
This was great. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.